Close your eyes and just feel the body. And allow your awareness to go to your body. Everything settles down and centers. Slowly, take a minute, slowly open your eyes. All things are imbued with spirit. When I'm photographing spirit, the energy. I'm a channel. And for me, it's sharing with my client what I see. I've learned to be in spirit in my thoughts and expectations. When I'm in spirit, I want to be the instrument of my spiritual source. Ideas flow, and I can't describe how the ideas come, and I can't force them. Staying in spirit seems to be the secret of this feeling of being inspired. The photography without the spirit is empty. The spirit applied, that spiritual experience, that awareness applied is magnificent. It's fantastic. For me, the magic and the excitement is making that connection on a spiritual level and then showing that in the images. So clients, they see things they never thought they'd see in a print. They vibrate with that spirit. And their spirit goes into the shoot, goes into the photography. So they're not just a record of what these people look like at a point in time. It's also a record of that spirit. And that's why the images look a little different. And the vision that I have comes from the meditation, my daily practice of meditation. So for me, the best way to describe photography is a spiritual experience. What's my purpose on the planet? If I think about where I first gained consciousness, I'd say it was living with Dad as a Quaker minister in a little town in upstate New York called Rogers Hollow. And I grew up as a Quaker. And Quakers are called Quakers because they used to quake. They would sit in meeting and be so moved by spirit, they start to shake. And I remember Dad would get up he's preaching, and he'd start pounding the pulpit to make a point. And he was kind of scary to me, the way he would get so almost violent to make these points he was making. I have 2 or 3 photos of me with my parents. And we're basically standing like wooden Indians looking at the camera. There's no motion, there's no that energy, that love, that feeling that is so important to me when I'm photographing isn't in those photos. For me on a shoot, to just totally get in the flow with those people I'm photographing. Not just the flow of what they're doing, but their energy and their spirit, and be one with them and photograph that. I wish I had more images of me with my parents in that way. I started at Rhode Island School of Design, at RISD as a student. I have a degree in photography from that experience. I met Harry Callahan there, who was the head of the department teaching photography. And he was a very inspiring person for me. The way he taught photography was so simple, and the way I meditate is so simple. The two have a lot in common that way. When I graduated from RISD, at some point, maybe after 6 or 7 years, everything starts to come apart. I lost my focus, and I got to the point where I eventually stopped meditating. Time goes by, I marry Trudy. One thing leads to another, and I'm going into Chinatown, learning to chant with a Tibetan Rinpoche. This rekindles my whole spiritual practice. Then I start going to Quaker meeting again. And then I'm learning Agnihotra, which is a fire ceremony. The fire ceremony you do at sunrise and sunset to help heal the planet. One thing is building on another thing, is building on another thing. So this is like, I'm allowing myself to be led. In the meantime, my income has dropped to $3,000 a year.
I grew up with no spirituality, no religion, my parents were not atheists, but they're just not practicing a religion. We didn't go to church. When I met Ben, it was my first exposure to Quakers, to Quakerism. Ben told me that he was going to pursue this spiritual practice and really wanted me to come on board and to understand and to do what he was doing. But I was so resistant to it because it wasn't my thing. It was real important for me to have my own path. And so Ben's working on his thing, and boy, he's going somewhere, and I don't want to be left behind.
So, follow your bliss. Life spent making money and not following your bliss is a wasted life. All these things, the meditation, the chanting, the Agnihotra, going back to Quaker meeting, all come together as part of a practice. I start to call it my practice. So every day I spend a couple hours on the practice. This starts to have a very profound effect on me, which is, what's my purpose on the planet? Like, you cannot go on the spiritual journey any further until you answer that question. For me, it's the photography. Somehow it was the combination of the photography and the practice gave both a new meaning. It's like a chemical reaction a little bit. You put the two together and some new form comes out of it.
And if I can figure out what I need to be doing, then everything will come together. Ben got to figure out what he wanted to do and what was my bliss. And I think that's probably when I started to get the encouragement and the support from Ben to start to do my own thing. I think the next step was leaving the corporate world and coming to work with Ben and following that bliss and being able to pursue something that I've wanted to do for so long and have really felt like I could be a big part of.